How's it? Sean from Combat Simulations. Outline of play. This is the tutorial we're going to be doing today from Lock and Load. Alright, so before we get started, please subscribe to my channel. It's free. And also leave comments and suggestions. I watch my videos and like them and share them. It helps me a lot, I promise. Alright, outline of play. The overview of the basic flow of the game, starting with setup and proceeding through an example turn. Let's begin the tutorial. Can't wait. Okay, let's move to the center here. Alright, outline of play. This tutorial will go over how our play proceeds in Lock and Load Tactical. If you have the 5.1 rulebook, setup is described in section 22.0, and the rest of the game phases are described in 2.0 on page 30. Every turn in Lock and Load Tactical proceeds through several distinct phases. Alright, brilliant. The setup phase. Almost every scenario begins with a setup phase for one or both sides. During the setup phase, players place their units on the map in locations specified by the scenario's order of battle, OOB, entries. Okay, good. Setup phase. The computer will pre-place units in positions that it thinks are beneficial, but you are free to adjust them if you feel that you have a better strategy. This tutorial is based on the scenario Assault on Vierville, but the scenario has been changed, so both sides have a setup phase. The Americans set up first. They are defending, and the defenders usually, but not always, set up first. Okay. All of the American units in the scenario have the same setup restrictions. They may be set up in any hex that is within 3 hexes of H6. So where's H6? Okay, so H6 is there. All right. Every unit that contains units, every hex that contains units can be repositioned in setup. Every hex that contains units that can be repositioned in setup has a pulsing hex outline. In the scenario, that is all of them. Okay, so there's the pulsing hex outlines. Your units are currently set up inside some of the buildings that contain victory hexes, which is a fine tactic, but perhaps a bit too defensive. Okay, fair enough. Let's say that you dutifully read the briefing and therefore know that the Germans will be setting up their units to the north, and that you'd rather have the heavy machine gun in a position that has a better field of fire in that direction. Left click on hex I5 to select that hex. Okay, we've selected it. All right, brilliant. The squad and the support weapon it was carrying are automatically selected when you selected hex I5. Okay, there they are. Boom. Okay, because you have units selected with a restricted setup area, the game has darkened out all the ineligible hexes. Only the hexes that are within the 3 hexes of H6 are lit up. So that's H6, and it's only 3 hexes within that we can set that up. Left click on G4, okay, to place the squad and support weapon in that hex. Okay, good. There we did. All right. Units are immediately placed in the hex and are deselected. The automatic deselection may seem a bit odd at first, but it makes it convenient to rapidly reposition stacks of units in setup. Okay. Let's imagine that you've decided you like to also have the leader up front of the battle. So left click on G6 where Corporal Medro and the half squad are positioned. Okay, good. There we go. By clicking on G6, both Corporal Medro and the half squad are selected. We, however, only want to move the leader. This is the primary use of counters in the unit selection window, selecting or deselecting individual counters from stacks. All right. In the unit selection window down here, you will see both units are selected and outlined. Okay, fair enough. There they are. We need to deselect the half squad to leave Corporal Meadow as the only selected unit. So left click on the half squad in the window. All right, there we go. There he's selected. There it says selected and other units in the X. Selecting individual counters. Okay. Now only Corporal Medro is selected. He's surrounded by a glowing outline and the half squad is not. All right, fair enough. The half squad is also moved to another section of the window out of the selected units area. Left click on G4 to move Corporal Medro to that hex. All right, so we're going to left click and off he goes. Okay, setup phase finishing. Okay, so let's say that looks good to us and we are now done positioning our units. Press the continue button in the control window to end the American setup phase. Okay, continue. All right. Setup phase, support weapons. German units in this modified scenario are allowed to set up anywhere within 2 hexes of D2. Okay. As with Americans, the computer has placed the units in what it thinks are good positions. However, we want to make a few changes. Left click on D4. Okay, there we go. As you see in the selected units window, okay, there are several units here. 2 of the units carry support weapons, 2 different types of machine guns. The MG34 with 2 firepower and range 9 can be currently carried on the advance, but the MG42 cannot. The computer set it up to fire from here. Okay, fair enough. All right, firing here may work fine, but let's say we want the Germans to bring the MG42 with them. It is currently set up on a tripod. To change this, toggle its status by left-clicking on its support weapon counter in the unit selection window. Alright, okay, now it's deselected. Now it's deassembled. Okay, so we can carry it. The counter for MG42 now shows it has been removed from the tripod, and it can still fire a bit with firepower reduced to 2 and range reduced to 10. Okay, there we go. So there it is. It's reduced to 2, and it's immobile when it's deployed. That's what it says there. All right, brilliant. This stack of German units is now ready to charge forward at the very start of the scenario. Let's learn how to move the support weapons from unit to unit. Left click on F3 to select that stack. Okay, good. We got that. Let's have a look. Let's have Lieutenant Koch use the MG34 that the squad is currently carrying. Left click and hold on the MG34 in the unit selection window and drag it on top of Lieutenant Koch's counter to hand it to him. Alright, good. So we got it and we just drag it over Lieutenant Koch. Okay, now Lieutenant Koch is using the weapon. Is that a good idea? Probably not. So now that you know how to move weapons, give it back to the first squad in the hex. Okay, there's the first squad and it's back. All the German units are positioned. Let's begin the game. Press the continue button in the control window to end the German setup phase. Okay, done. Alright, the Germans have an automatic initiative in the first turn of the scenario, but not all scenarios give the turn initiative to the attacking side. On subsequent turns, both sides roll at 1d6 for initiative, and the higher roll wins. If there's a tie, the side that had the initiative on the previous turn retains it. Okay, good enough. Next step. Rally phase. The first phase in every turn is the rally phase, where each player attempts to rally any shaken units and move or assemble or disassemble support weapons. However, the rally phase in turn 1 of Lock and Load Tactical Digital is almost always skipped because there's nothing for either player to do on the first rally phase. Alright, brilliant. Operations phase. Okay, like all scenarios, this scenario has no shaken units or special damaging events at the start, so it immediately goes to the first operation phase. The operation phase consists of players engaging in alternating impulses. During an impulse, the player activates and controls units in one hex or passes. The player with initiative goes first, then the opponent, and so on, until the phase is complete. Alright. Now, no Germans have moved on this turn, so a pulsating hex outlines surround both hexes containing their units. Okay, so these are both pulsating, so we can choose here. Left click on F3 to select that stack. Okay, so we left clicked it on F3. Okay, left click there. You might be thinking that we should start firing at the Americans. Okay, however, units in degrading and blocking terrain are not spotted. That's important until they do something that makes the hex spotted. Right now, at the start of the impulse, the Germans know that the Americans are somewhere in G4, but not exactly where. So when it's grayed out like this, it's not spotted. He has to actually do something, fire or move. The American counters are shaded to remind us that they are not spotted by the currently selected stack. Okay, next turn. Let's have the Germans start moving to surround the Americans. We don't want the whole stack to do this, just one squad without the machine gun. To deselect the squad with the machine gun, click on it in the unit selection window. Okay, so we There he goes. Now he's deselected. Now click on Lieutenant Koch to deselect him, leaving only the single squad leaving only the single squad selected. Okay, good. So there he is, and that squad's the only selected unit in that X. Now we want to move the squad to the adjacent heavy construction building. We are thinking of circling around to the east, or possibly just drawing fire from the Americans so that they reveal themselves. Left click on G2 to move into that hex. Okay, so we're going to move this squad into that hex. Boom. Okay. The Americans see the Germans darting into the building and are now prompted for opportunity fire. Opportunity fire is allowed after an opponent spends movement points as long as the moving unit is in the line of sight of an enemy that is eligible to fire, and the hex they entered is spotted. Okay, that's important. In this instance, the Germans spent 2 movement points to move into the building, creating the opportunity, because so they moved from there to there. They are spotted because they now are marked with a movement marker, so they did something, that's why they're spotted. They are in the line of sight of the American stack in G4, so they're in the line of sight of this stack over there. And the American stack in G4 is eligible to fire. They are not marked with any counters that would make them ineligible, such as moved or fire counters. So you've drawn his fire, and he hasn't done anything in the turn. Okay, so that's why he's got this opportunity fire. If he had a fire or marked mover, he wouldn't be able to do this. In this phase, the Americans are not required to take opportunity fire. In fact, if they believe the Germans will be continuing their move out into the less protected road in H2 or H3, they might want to wait. Okay, they may also want to wait for a different target. Once they take opportunity fire, they will be marked fired and unable to fire again this turn. So opportunity fire is quite important, because if you do take it, you give up the opportunity of taking it anywhere around here or firing in the next turn. You've actually you give up your opportunity in this phase, in this turn, and you're going to wait for the next turn. So it's quite an important decision to make. All right. For the purpose of this tutorial, however, let's take a shot. The game board is now showing a targeting interface. All hexes with units eligible to fire are highlighted with pulsating outlines. Okay, there we go. The currently selected units are outlined both on the board and in the unit selection window. So they're outlined over here and they're outlined over there. In this instance, only the stack in G4 is eligible. Left click on that stack to fire the weapons. When I got this game, I was trying to click over here and I couldn't understand how am I going to shoot, because you know the crosshairs is over there, so you want to click here. You know, you actually got to click on the actual hex that's firing. Okay, good. So let's do it. There we go. Americans fire and roll their dice well. After the attack resolves, the Germans are left shaken. Despite the protection of the building, that heavy machine gun pinned them down and they must halt their movement. Okay. Once the attack concludes, you can click the mouse to skip each of the results windows if it's taking too long. So you know those result windows that come on that's showing you what's actually happening? If you left click the mouse, that just closes them, ends that. So just if it's taking too long, you can click past that. All right, press end pulse in the control window to finish the impulse. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, American impulse. The American player may now select a hex of units to activate. Notice that the hex on G4 is not surrounded by an outline. Okay, because he's already fired. Fair enough. Since the squad fired and was assisted by the leader, they are both marked fired and finished their turn. Okay. Hexes G6 and I6 contain units that are eligible to activate. But let's just move through the operations phase for now. Press the pass 1 button in the control window. So both of those are able to be moved. But we'll press the pass button like the tutorial says. Back to the Germans. The squad in G... Okay, let's have a look. The squad in G2 is marked as moved. That one over there. And its hex is not surrounded by an outline. The other units' hexes are. The impulses alternate between each player until 3 impulses are passed in a row. For the purposes of this tutorial and understanding the flow of the game, we will continue passing until the turn ends. Press pass 2. Okay. Pass pass and end in the control window. As the third pass in a row, this will end the operations phase for turn 1. Okay, so let's do that. Okay. After the operation phase ends, there's an administrative phase in which many markers are removed from the map, some of which include fired, moved, assault move, low crawl, ops complete, spotted, and fire for effect. The computer takes care of this all automatically, thank God. So we immediately proceed to the start of turn 2, which begins with a roll for initiative. All right, good. Let's go. The Germans win the roll for initiative, and we proceed to the first phase of turn 2, the rally phase. This time we won't skip it. The Germans will do their rally phase first. The shaken squads in G2 will obviously benefit from rallying. Alright, fair enough. A successful roll would flip them back to their good order side. But there's a problem. Obviously, the leader's not in there. They're on their own. Alright? A shaken unit can only be rallied if it's in the same hex as a good order leader, a hero or chaplain. The squad is all alone and therefore cannot attempt to rally. If Lieutenant Cock had gone with them, he could have enabled a rally attempt. But if he had, he might have been wounded or even killed by the Americans' machine gun. All right, fair enough. Summary. After the Americans finished their rally phase, after the Germans finished their rally phase, the Americans would take their rally phase. Though the Germans have no shaken units to rally, support weapons can also be dismantled and assembled, picked up or transferred between units in the rally phase. Therefore, they could use their rally phase to pack up the machine gun, the MG, to enable them to reposition in the operations phase. All right, brilliant. Next step. After each player's rally phase, we continue to the operations phase, starting with the players that won the initiative, alternating impulses until 3 passes ends the operation phase. The automatic administration phase then concludes the turn. The play proceeds in turns, initiative, rally phase, operation phase, admin phase, until the scenario ends, and there is a winner. Okay, so basically you got your rally phase where you can rally you can dismantle and assemble your support weapons. You can pick them up, and then you can rally units that are in the same hex as the leaders. Okay, that's the rally phase. So you first win initiative through a dice. So let's just summarize this. You win initiative, you throw for initiative, and if you win it, you throw 2 dice, and the higher dice wins. If there's a draw, the side that had the initiative in the previous turn gets the initiative. Then the side that wins the initiative, then we proceed to the rally phase. The rally phase is where we can do all the disassembling and disassembling and picking up the support weapons and doing rally for units that are in leaders' hexes, heroes' hexes, and that sort of thing. Then we proceed to the operation phase, and there's 3 pulse impulses. So each player goes on each impulse, and it alternates until 3 impulses are finished. Then there's an admin phase where everything is cleared, and then we start again with initiative. And yeah, that's basically how that thing works. All right, brilliant. It's easy, eh? Simple and easy. The game is very intuitive and very because the computer takes care of all the nasty stuff, like the background line of sights and all the admin phase. The game is a pleasure to play, and it's very intuitive and easy to play. Easy to play, but hard to master, because obviously as you go, there's more intricacies involved in it. In the moving and firing. You can see that the way that you obviously play this game, like the Germans there, they move that unit across there. That's a good move because it draws, because the Americans there in that X there, that hedge X there with the walls, they weren't spotted. So one way to get them to be spotted so that you can shoot at them is to get them to draw fire. So that's like a valid tactic. So yeah, you can see how you can use valid tactics in the game. Love this game. Yeah, really, really good. Tutorials are simple, intuitive, and you can start playing straight away. All right, good. Sean from Combats. The next tutorial is activations, and then we'll do spotting, and in the following tutorial. Okay, Sean from Combat Simulations. Please subscribe to my channel. It's free, and also leave comments and suggestions. And watch my videos, and like them, and share them. It helps me a lot. I promise you it does. All right, until our next tutorial, activations, good day on you.